Welcome, ladies and gents, to the content marketing department. Today, we have a very special meeting. I want to basically talk about how I was able to help a business scale from a brand new account to $80,000 a month in recurring revenue for their business completely organically, all right, just with organic content. And we did this in 4 months. So it's a really impressive case study. I want to break it down. I want to mainly also provide applicable information and thought processes and belief shifts and all that kind of stuff so you can apply it to your own business and generate leads for your own business using organic content. Okay, now if you don't know who I am, my name is Akash. I've helped clients generate hundreds of millions of views on social media, which has resulted in millions of dollars in sales for their businesses, right? So I don't view social media as a thing to just become an influencer and go trending and go viral for the sake of going viral. I'm here to help you turn organic, free content that you're posting on social media into content that attracts your customers and attracts your ideal audience rather, and turns them into customers, right? Paying customers, happy customers of your services. Now, the impressive thing here is, so we all know, and if you don't know this, then you should know, organic content is phenomenal because not only is it a lone engine, meaning like it's a solo engine, right? It's its own thing. It's going to work and it's going to get clients for you. It's going to get customers for you if you're doing the correct processes and making the right type of content. But also we know, and if you don't know, then you should know, that combining organic content with something like cold outreach or paid advertisements or anything really, any other sort of method of attracting clients, combining the two is just beautiful. That's what we want to do. But for this client specifically, and also forgot to mention, but that's how you really get the best results, right? Because if you're spending $20,000, $30,000 a month on ads, for example, and then people are clicking on your ads and they want to go to your Instagram page or your TikTok page or wherever, your YouTube channel, wherever, because they want to see like, well, who is this person on this ad? Like, I am intrigued, but who is this person saying all these things? Like, can I trust them, right? So then they're going to go on your profiles, on your social profiles, they'll do research. If your social profiles are blank or outdated or just not good, then you just wasted that ad money. Whereas if you were spending that money on ads, and this can be for cold outreach too, right? Same kind of principle applies. They see the outreach and they're like, who is this person? Yeah. Whereas if you do have content and you have up-to-date content, you're talking about the latest and greatest trends and activity in your industry that relate to your customer, the thoughts that they're having, right? The fears that they're having, the objections that they're going through, all of that, right? What they think can work, what they think can't work. If you're making content about all those things, then once someone clicks on your ad or clicks on your email or does whatever cold outreach, once they do research on you, they'll be like, oh wow, okay, this person seems legit. Let me hit them up, right? So that's the thing. Now for this business though, we actually did this with zero cold outreach. We did this with zero paid ads, and we did this without going viral. We did have one post that got, I think either 100 or 200,000 views. But I don't know. Do you count that viral? I guess that's a little bit viral. And to be fair, it's not like it attracted a bunch of leads. So it's not like, oh wow, we got 200,000 views and now we have a crap ton of leads as well. This was kind of like a semi-virality play, which I'll explain to you because I know I say like, hey, usually we don't try to go viral, but I will explain to you why we did this and in this unique situation, what exactly happened and what went down. Now, we started off by diagnosing the issue. We have to actually figure out, well, what is actually going on here? What videos are working? What videos are not working? What's this audience like? What is the demographic? Who is already a influencer in this niche? What are they doing? What is the proof of concept? What is the best practices in this niche? All of that kind of stuff. And well, first of all, if you're not posting any content, and for a lot of business owners who are brand new to posting organic social media content, the issue is almost always going to be that you're just not posting enough content. Like, just start posting content, and mainly posting content consistently and not taking like weeks or months off and then all of a sudden posting a few times again and then, giving up again. It has to be a consistent thing that you do, just like bookkeeping, right? If you mess up your books, you mess up your business, or if you, whatever it is, compared to whatever you'd like that helps you realize that this is really important. You have to make consistent content. So for most business owners, that's what we have to say. For this person, though, it was a little bit of a unique situation because they did have a new account that we created, but that was only because their old account, which they were posting content on, was just destroyed. I mean, they did everything that you're not supposed to do on social media. They were getting bot followers. They were doing fake engagement. They pretty much they forced Instagram's hand into shadow banning them, essentially, right? And they barely had any followers to begin with, and they were barely getting any traction. So we're like, okay, nobody knows who you are. We're pretty much starting from scratch here. Let's just start a new account. So that's what we did. But the good thing is, since they were already posting some content before, we were able to go in there and figure out, okay, cool. What is the highest performing content? What are the hooks that you have been using? What are the topics that you're discussing? What are the external, not 100% related, but adjacent topics that you're because for top of funnel, if you're trying to reach strangers, then, and if you have a niche that's very, very unique, which this person was in a niche that has really low organic demand, you have to kind of be really creative and go super broad, basically. You got to go keep going one step broader and broader until you can grab people and force them to be introduced to your ecosystem, to your brand, to your content, right? So we were just doing all that research and we figured out, okay, we got a pretty good content strategy here, we think. Ultimately, the issue boils down to two things for this account. It's an extremely low demand niche. Extremely. You could take 1,000 guesses and I don't think any of you would guess what niche that they're in. Very, very unique, very low demand. Basically no demand. We have to create the demand here. The second issue that we're having is the fact that it is a brand new account. But the lessons here, they can apply to any business owner, especially if you are struggling to get leads organically, right? Then this is for you, and you can take these learnings, you can take these principles and apply it to your own business. And you best believe I'm going to be applying this to my own business, because one of the things I'm really hoping to do here is make videos updating you guys on my own progress of generating leads organically. I used to get all of my clients through freelance websites or referrals. And then finally I was like, okay, I need to stop being a hypocrite. I need to actually walk the walk and do the processes myself to get clients that I've already implemented and have proven to work, for my clients already. I need to stop being a overweight personal trainer. If you guys don't know, there's a really popular show, the Callum Johnson Show, the podcast. So way back a couple years ago, before he even started that podcast, and it's super famous now, I interviewed with Callum, and he was looking for a video editor / social media manager guy. And this was me newer in my career, and I was not posting content myself to get clients. And one of the questions he told me, or he asked me, was, why are you not doing this? And I was telling him I just don't have time. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, is I'm paying attention to my clients and not really to myself. I'm not marketing myself. And he said, it's kind of like being a fat personal trainer, right? If I walk in a gym and I see a trainer who's overweight and they want to train me, I'm not going to really want to work with them. And I was like, damn, bro, okay, I guess you're right. Okay, you're right. You got me, super nice guy, but he didn't say it that way. Super kind guy. It was a great conversation. I made it more exaggerated when I just said it right now. Yeah, but he was a cool guy. We laughed about it. We joked about it. Anyways, I'm not being a fat personal trainer anymore. That's my point. And by the way, if you want me to send you a complete content game plan customized to your business, so you know exactly what to post on social media and how that will turn your viewers into customers for your business completely organically, no paid ads required, no cold outreach, no nothing like that, no crazy fancy editing required or anything, just organic content. If you want a complete game plan like that, I'll give it to you in 72 hours. Just visit my website, everestvalleymedia.com. It'll be linked in the description, and you can fill out the brief questionnaire. And once you do that, you don't even need to hop on a meeting with me. There's not going to be some sales call where I try and force you to be my client or anything, or try to upsell you or cross-sell you, whatever. Nothing like that. I will just send you a complete Loom video of me explaining the document, and I'll send you the document as well, so you can take it and you can run with it if you want to, or you can decide to work with me. Either way, cool with it. Just visit the link in the description if you're interested, and I'll see you there. Now back to the video. We already diagnosed the issue, right? We figured out what it was, but what is the solution? So the solution here is actually a 3-part solution. The first one was resetting our expectations. And this is really important, especially in a client-facing, deliverables, results-driven service that I provide. I have to make sure the client has realistic expectations, and I have to make sure they're okay with those expectations, right? And if they're not okay, they can work with someone else. But for this situation, we had to reset our expectations because, like I said, this is a niche that has virtually no organic demand. Nobody is Googling this stuff, right? When you think of the most popular niches online right now for online coaches and stuff is day traders, right? The social media marketing agency guys, the sales people, right? High ticket closing. And for all those people, those are in demand, right? People are searching up how to become a salesman, how to get a sales job. There's organic demand, but for this guy, there's none whatsoever. So we have to reset our expectations. What I like to do is I like to figure out, okay, in your niche, in your specific niche, who is the top dog and who are the players in the middle. And then who are the small guys? I want an overview of the entire market of creators and personal brands and business owners who are in this niche. I need to understand what is the range here, right? What is the difference between these phases of like the top guys, the middle guys, the micro guys, right? What are the differences between them? How can I do my best job to position my client to be one of the big dogs? The important part of doing this research is sometimes you'll figure out you are the only person in this niche or one of the only people in this niche. And I talk about my Amazon client because he was coaching people on Amazon private label FBA. You don't need to know exactly what the business model is, but that's what it's called, right? Amazon private label FBA. Amazon FBA private labeling is what he was coaching people on. Now, the thing is, though, the two top accounts in this niche have been making content for over a decade. They've accrued hundreds of thousands of subscribers, millions of followers across their platforms each. And yet they are struggling to get 1,000 views per long form video on YouTube. And their short form videos too, they get like maybe 1,000 views. And not only that, but most of their videos are not even talking about Amazon FBA private labeling. They're talking about similar other e-commerce type things, and they try to funnel them into the Amazon stuff, right? They talk about what's in demand, and then they try to funnel them into their service, even though it's not the exact same as what's in demand and what those people were originally trying to look up and trying to research. And so we did the same thing with this client, and I highly recommend doing it for you too, is figuring out like who is the top dogs, because the best case scenario is, you have demand and you can figure out like you play the game, you play the best practices game, and you can get clients that way, right? You can build your brand that way. Obviously you want to be unique too. We don't just want to copycat people all the time, but you do have to play the game, right? It's annoying, but it's kind of how the game works if you want predictable results. Now for this person, there's no account for this person. There's no other account. This is literally the only person in this niche. So we had to tell them and like, hey, I'm willing to work with you on this. Like, I think we can make this work because as an operator, he's a beast, right? Very charismatic on camera, very intelligent, like legitimate too, like actual legitimate business owner, not some fraud, over exaggerating results. So he had plenty of like case studies and proof to show people, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm willing to make this work. We're willing to work with you on this and figure this out. But we have to understand that this is going to be a journey, and we're going to need to try really hard. Like, we're going to need to try 10 times harder than for other clients because of the reasons that I just mentioned earlier. So that was part one of the solution, is making sure that all of us reset our expectations and understood that what we were getting ourselves into. Now, the second thing is we needed to increase top of funnel content. Essentially what that means is we are going broad. So for me, for example, what this would look like is, I talk about organic content, growing the business through that. So and I usually target business owners, right? Now, if I wanted to go broad, I could possibly, instead of specifically targeting business owners, I could go into talking to creators now too, right? I could be like, hey, here's how to, for business owners and create. If you're a business owner, creator, if you're a creator or business owner, this is how you grow an Instagram account or something. Or maybe I don't even mention those keywords and I just say like, here's how to grow on Instagram, right? And so I start targeting that niche and I go a little bit broad, right? Top of funnel. For this client though, we needed to go super top of funnel. And I'm talking taking completely irrelevant hooks and somewhat irrelevant content that we know is performing really, really well on social media. So it's getting eyeballs. And then kind of, using those to hook people in, and then doing like a bait and switch technique, or maybe it's a stitch technique where he's reacting to some stuff that people are already into. And we have to be really aggressive with like, okay, we need broad reach right now. We just need people to discover and learn about what you do, right? That is the main thing that we need, which is also really unique because for a lot of clients, I actually don't recommend going all in on top of funnel, especially if you're brand new on social media, brand new to try and getting leads organically. For a lot of them, I just say to post content and stay mainly middle of funnel. So don't worry about the people who have never heard of your service and you have to convince them that your service is something that they need. Focus on all of the people that already know this service is something that they need. They're already in the market, and just focus on, creating content for those people mainly. Like a lot of times that's going to be the case. It's a case by case scenario though. And the last thing that we needed to do, the last part of the solution, was the African rock python. Okay. which is super random. I just Google search. I know nothing about snakes. I just Google searched it, and apparently the African rock python. This is gonna make sense. The African rock python, when they lay eggs, they coil around those eggs and they protect them for 90 days straight. They don't leave those eggs at all. What I mean by this and why this is important is essentially you need to nurture your interested followers. If you are in this now this applies to everybody, and that's why earlier in the video I said, hey, you can take lessons from this and you can apply it to their business, because any business, because this applies to everybody. When you get someone, but for this guy specifically, it applied a lot, like to the extreme degree, right? To the highest degree possible. It was really, really important that we did this, because no one was, genuine, like rarely any of the top of funnel people would be interested immediately. But once we started doing this, once we started doing the African rock python techniques, the strategies, once we learned from the rock python and did what they do, he started seeing an increase in sales. And this just basically meant he was nurturing the crap out of his leads. And this is not just one-on-one nurturing. I think a lot of business owners may get intimidated. I mean, like, I don't have time, or I don't trust my VA, or I can't hire a VA, I can't afford a VA, whatever, to do the nurturing for me. Well, he was doing this through videos. So instead of answering people in the comments, you just respond to their comments with the video, right? If you don't know, Instagram has a feature where, and TikTok as well, and a bunch of other platforms will have a feature where you can actually directly respond to a comment. And that way, when people are looking at the comment section, when someone comments, they see a reply, it's actually going to be your video. And they can click on that video, which is good because now on the actual platform, you're keeping the viewers on the platform longer, since they're, watching your videos back to back, which just signals to the platform, hey, this account is really intriguing and it's a high quality account, so let's share it with more people, right? Organically. And so that was one of the most powerful things that this client did. How was this client able to accomplish this in 4 months though? Because that is super aggressive. First of all, scaling to 80K a month with a brand new account that has no proven offer in a low demand niche is extremely difficult. So what did it take? It took brute force, okay? It took brute force. I'm talking, instead of walking through a door, we're punching the wall, right? Instead of using a doorknob, because there was no doorknob. We didn't have a doorknob to use. We didn't have proof of concept. We didn't have, hey, this is a path that we can predictably take and we can predictably make this type of content and you're going to get results. And we know this because it's working for everybody else too, right? There's no doorknob. Doorknob's not there. You can't see the doorknob. It's not there. What do we have to do instead? Brute force. We had to destroy the door. You guys know what brute force is. What am I doing here? I'm acting a fool. So what does that mean though? We asked ourselves this. Okay, if organic content is the only way that we can grow this business, what will it take? Well, what can we control? The only two things that we can control are what we post and how often we post. Now, for what we post, obviously, all the research, all the content strategy, we take care of all of that so the clients have absolutely everything that they need to just turn on the camera and start recording. That is what to post. Now, the volume, though. The volume is up to a lot of times it can be up to the clients, because it's like, okay, we take care of, however much we're contracted to take care of. And it's up to the client if they want to go above and beyond and add on to that. And we always consult with our clients and be like, hey, if you do want to make extra content, here's the type of content you should make. This would be the best, and this is the lowest effort for you. This would be the quickest for you, the most efficient, right? Because we don't want business owners to be stuck. We don't want business owners to have a bunch of friction, and you as a business owner, you don't want a bunch of friction getting in the way of making content. You want it to be as frictionless as possible, so you can just turn on the camera and start recording. That's the ideal situation. So that way you have the least excuses possible, right? The path of least friction. What this client did was they just posted a lot. Like, we increased volume to 5 times a day sometimes, and multiple times a day other than that, like more than 2 or 3 times a day most days. I'm telling you, man, brute force. We brute forced our way into growing this account and scaling this account. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy because you hear a lot of gurus, right? A lot of Instagram gurus will say, and honestly, this is kind of like a philosophy I wanted to follow as well, until I decided, well, look, I'm not going to follow a philosophy that I don't have proof of concept in, and I don't have proof of success in, and I haven't seen work on multiple other accounts, right? Like, if I do something, if I'm going to go all in, dedicate myself to do something, I want to make sure I have the highest chance of success. And so a lot of what I used to think was, okay, instead of posting a lot of content and focusing on volume of content and posting frequency, what if I just posted maybe like once or twice a week on short form content, and I made sure they were overly edited, they were overly scripted, storybooked out. We had like all the shots planned out, the fonts that we're using, the effects that we're going to use, all of that. If you heard a yawn, that's a dog. Teddy, if you're tired, you can just sleep, buddy. Okay, and we were doing all that. But the problem is releasing only 2 videos a day, or 2 videos a week. Now, if you're posting, if you're running ads and you have a high ad budget, so you have people that are constantly, forced to be introduced to your account, then yeah, maybe, that can make sense. Still, I would argue that, higher volume would be good though, because we're talking about organically growing, right? But for most business owners, you are not going to have the time to spend that much time and money and resources into each little video, and you don't even need to. Like I said, we're talking about like what is required to have the highest chance of success. What is working right now? What is working right now is authentic content. Authentic content, following trends that are popular. They don't require super crazy editing or whatever. That's what changed my mind about that, and that's what changed kind of my view for this too. And here's the thing too, oh my goodness, when it comes to making high effort content, it is just, like I said, about friction, right? It's a lot of friction because you have to take so much time. It takes an entire day sometimes to just script out one piece of content, whereas like it's not even worth doing that. Like, for the same amount of views, and it goes down, if you haven't heard the Alex Hormozi story that he says about the pottery professor, right? I think it's a very similar thing that happens here, where a pottery professor basically was telling his students, hey, there's 2 groups of you guys. One of you guys is just going to focus on one pot. You create one pot for the entire semester. The other group of you guys, you're going to create one new pot every single day. Doesn't matter how good it is or how bad it is, you have to complete one every single day. So one focus on volume, one focus on making the best one possible. At the end of the day, the ones who made the volume, the ones who were making a new pot every single day, obviously made the better pots because they got practice, right? They got months of practice, whereas the other guys, I mean, yeah, they did have months of practice too, but they were just tinkering the same pot over and over and over again instead of like making this pot, what happened here, when it dried out and stuff, how can I analyze what happened? Okay, cool. Based on what I learned, wow, now that I say this out loud, like, the pottery analogy really relates to content, right? Because it's like, okay, we posted the content, what's going on, what are we analyzing? But we can't analyze the pot, and we can't analyze the content if the content was never posted, if the pot was never dried, if it was never made and set to, I don't know pottery, I don't know what kind of words and phrases they use. If it wasn't ready, if it wasn't dry and ready, right? A complete pot. We can't look at all of the flaws that the pot has. Maybe there's a crack here, meaning like you didn't support this enough. Maybe there was a design flaw here, whatever, right? You get my point. I'm going on and on and on about this, but yeah, it follows that same principle of, in that same thought process of just make more content, and eventually you will get better because you'll have more data to analyze. Not only that, but you're going to reach a lot more people because you're posting a lot more content. When you see people posting content and they tell you that you should only focus on a low frequency of content and make it the best content possible, I just don't think business owners have the resources to do that. And if you do have the resource to do that, then you probably are already doing it. You wouldn't be watching this video. So for us who are out there in the trenches trying to grow our businesses with organic content, right? The content marketing department, I want to give advice that applies to the most businesses possible. And this is the advice that applies to most businesses possible. Make content as frequently as you can and make sure it's the least friction path to making content. So what were the results after doing all of this stuff? Well, right now that client is sitting on a nice, pretty, few million impressions per month. All right, 2 or 3 million impressions per month. They scaled to $80,000 a month. Right now they have too much demand, so they have to tweak their systems and work on their team structure, all that. And finally, now that they have organic proof of success for their offer, and now they know who they're talking to, they know what content worked, what content didn't work, what creatives worked, what creatives did not work, what messages work, what messages do not work. Now that they have all that information from doing organic content and allowing the people, because when we say the algorithm, it really is the people, unless you get Shadow Man, yeah, different story. But generally when people say, hey, the algorithm likes this content, it's just the people that you're trying to target like that content, okay? So now that we understand what the people want and what people are attracted to is offered the most, now they are getting ready for paid ads. And holy crap, I can't imagine how this is going to grow throughout this year by the end of 2026. Now, the meeting summary here, ladies and gentlemen, is Organic content will work for your business. If you run into a hurdle, if you run into an obstacle, if you run into an issue, you can always solve that issue. Maybe you have to do the extreme route of creating a new account and completely reshifting your content strategy, but there is always going to be a way to promote your business organically with free content that you're posting on social media and attracting high ticket leads to be paying customers who are happy to work with you and they're eager to work with you. By the time they get on a sales call, they're like, dude, I watched all your content. I did this. Like, let's go. Okay. And, depending on the pricing and stuff like that, you might have a little bit of hesitancy, right? They say like 30% closing rate is the ideal place to be because that means you're priced appropriately where most people can't afford it. But the 30% that can afford it means they're paying like a high price, which means you have high profit margins. I'm a nerd at this stuff. I can just keep going on and on forever. If you guys want a game plan from me, a complete game plan, you don't have to get on a meeting with me or anything. Click on the link in the description, Everest Valley Media, everestvalleymedia.com, and I'll send that to you in the next 3 days. Other than that, I will see you in the next content marketing department meeting. Thanks so much. Make sure to subscribe. See you next time.